So in the movement of Kundalini, and we're not talking physical space, how does she move? In other words, if she is not a physical thing, if she is not sort of stomach acid, coming up your esophagus, then how is it that she moves when there's no space that we're describing? Are we talking only physical geography that she moves in? And the answer, of course, is no. She's a goddess, for God's sake. She's not an amoeba, or a little air pocket in the intestines that works itself up or down. She's a goddess, and she's not subject to the same human laws and rules. So the first place that we're going to look is we're going to look how you sort of cross over the three worlds, and that's in terms of densities, right? Densities that are great, like the density of Earth, which is the most dense of the elements, or the density, for example, of space, which is the least dense of all the elements, and everything in between. We have five. It can be described, I'm sure, in many ways by different cultures, but in Indian culture, we're describing it as five elements, five mahabhutas. Right? A bhut, by the way, is a ghost. Right? A mahabhut is an element. An element such as earth, water, fire, air, and space. These are the five elements that we're dealing with.
And you're using those fingers very specifically, right?
You have to speak louder.
You're using those fingers to describe each of the elements very specifically, yes? Because those fingers correspond, is that correct? The correct word to the elements, or not?
The fingers?
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm just counting.
Oh, okay.
So that I don't get lost in the middle of my description. Now, what we're going to find is that not only are there five somewhat abstract elements, right? In other words, you can't see an element itself, you can only see a reflection or a manifestation or a representation or a correspondence of that element. But you can't see the element earth, right? You can see the ground, you can see rocks, you can see as far as you can see, but that's only a manifestation of that. It's not the element itself. The element itself, to our thinking, is abstract. Okay. But what it really informs us about is that there is a difference of densities. And densities don't only happen in the extreme abstract, they happen in the specific as well. So you could have in your speech, I'll skip all the other stuff and just get straight to the speech so you understand what I mean. In your speech, you have articulation that can be very dense or lacking density almost entirely. And the way that gods and goddesses and spirits and beings without bodies travel is they travel according to five elements rather than only one of the elements, which is the element of space. Now, in your body, or for you, if you want to travel, you're entirely working with space. You're not working with any of the elements, right? From here to there, right, you got two things happening. You got space and you got time, which are basically the same things Einstein told us, right? But you got these two things, and that's all you're dealing with, right? But if you're a goddess, you have five elements that you're dealing. And motion is seen as progressing in terms of density rather than just in terms of geographical space. So what we can see is you look at the art of Kundalini and the art of chakra. Please never, ever, ever say in front of me chakra. And a chakra is a circle. And in fact, in Hindi, we don't even say chakra, we say chakra. So it's chakra in Sanskrit, chakra in Hindi. And if I ask you, kya ho gaya? Chakar lag gaya? Chakar lag gaya? It means, are you dizzy? Chakra meaning a circle. Right? Chakar lag gaya? Are you dizzy? Have you been spinning around in a circle? So a chakra is a circle or a wheel. And you've seen in the art of chakras and the art of Kundalini, if you've seen any of Harish Johari's, he's done a lot of art. He was a friend of mine many years ago. If you've seen the art of all this stuff, you'll notice that they represent all the chakras with lotuses of different numbers of petals, right? And you will notice that on the petals of these lotuses is a syllable written in Devanagari script, in the Sanskrit script. We call the Sanskrit script Devanagari, right? And to distinguish, because normally I'm not talking about script. Normally I'm talking about speech and the syllables of speech. Script becomes much more interesting when we are interested in representing speech. Okay? So if, for example, I give you a complicated mantra or something like that, then it's more interesting to have that mantra in Devanagari script, because your pronunciation and articulation will be considerably more precise than if it's written in Roman letters. Okay, but other than that, other than for representation purposes, it doesn't suit our purposes. What suits our purposes is speech, because we're not trying to present this stuff, we're trying to apply this stuff. And there is a huge difference between these two areas of representation and application, as we've discussed in terms of quantum physics. So you notice that there is a syllable that is put on each of the petals of the lotus, and that different chakras, so described, have different numbers of petals and different syllables written on those petals that represent that chakra, all the way to the top, the 1,000-petaled lotus, the Sahasradar, right? Dar means something that holds something, maintains something. Adhara. We sang in Guru Dattatreya Arati, Shiva Shankara Kailash Me Dhyana Dharain. Dharain is from Dhara, right? Dharain, it's a what do you call it? A subjunctive tense, where it says sort of let or have Shiva Shankar be maintaining dhyan or meditation or consciousness. So dharain is a subjunctive form of dhara, right? We have Muldhara, right, the holder of the root. We have Sahasradhara, the holder of the 1,000-petaled lotus. If you were all to involve yourselves more in speech and sacred speech, then I would insist that you make a clear distinction between da, 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 and da. Those are 4 distinct syllables, as distinct as A, B, C, D.
I heard 3 in there.
And then also, I would want you to make the clear distinction between ta, 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 and ta. We're talking densities. It's all densities. I'm making a whole trip across consciousness when I say dot, 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 dot. That is, I just made this huge trip where I covered more area than all the astronauts and cosmonauts put together since the first spaceship. Just in that little kind of thing. So when you hear a recitation like you did the other night, you can imagine the planets that were visited, right? Solar systems not even imagined were visited the other night because we had a way of traveling. And this is the way we travel. And this is the way the Kundalini travels. And if we want to travel with Kundalini, then we have to, we cannot insist that she accompany us on an airplane. She hates airplanes. But rather,
I would imagine.
She much, much more prefers magic carpets. And if you will offer her a magic carpet, she may just come with you, but not on an airplane. She hates airplanes.